How's it going, everybody? I've got some more magic for you today, and we are just after bans. So, Standard is absolutely interesting and amazing right now. I'm showing off today the deck that I am playing in Ranked Standard at the moment, which is an Abzan Yuna deck. It's basically, in my opinion, what is Domain at the moment. Obviously, Up the Beanstalk got banned, so I don't have that in this deck at all. But we do have a lot of interesting things here. Obviously, you got to worry at least a little bit about graveyard hate, but it isn't like... It is a key feature of this deck to be able to use Yuna to pull things from the graveyard. We even have Virtue of Persistence in this deck. However, honestly, you can still easily win, even in game 2, 3, after getting sideboarded against, without very much trouble at all. You just focus on ramp over graveyard, and that kind of makes up for that really easily. So let's start off here. We have Esper Origins. This card is absolutely fantastic and is probably one of my favorite cards in this deck. It's a sorcery, 2 cost, surveil 2, gain 2 life, so it already helps against aggressive decks. It lets you kind of mana fix, things that's really important in this kind of a deck. And then if you cast the spell from the graveyard, you exile it, then put it onto the battlefield transformed under your control with a finality counter on it. It has a flashback cost of 4, so that's how you would cast it from your graveyard rather than from your hand. And it is really good. So as a saga, it has on its first chapter, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a permanent card, put it into your hand. Add 2 mana for Saga Chapter 2, and then for Chapter 3, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain trample until end of turn. So as far as it saying that if it is a permanent card, it goes to your hand, everything in this deck, except for Esper Origins and Ride's End, is a permanent card. Everything is an enchantment. Everything other than, like, there's enchantments, creatures, but all of these are permanent cards. So your likelihood of hitting a permanent, even your land are permanent. So your likelihood of actually hitting a permanent card is astronomically high. It almost never happens that you whiff. But even if you do, it's not really a big deal. So that's our 2-drop, our low end of the deck. Everything in here is expensive, and we do have slow lands, things like Underground Mortuary, Shadowy Backstreet, Lush Portico. So we have the Surveil lands. This lets us kind of look at our top deck frequently, decide whether we want to keep or drop something in the graveyard, especially when we're like seeing things like Bahamut, Knights of the Round, things like that on top. And you absolutely can use any assortment of these that you like. This is what I'm comfortable with and what I've been enjoying using. I like having 2 Knights of or 2 Bahamut, because this is one of the pieces of removal in the deck that you can very easily get with Yuna. In matches where I think I'm going to be heavily sideboarded against or heavily graveyard hated out, I will reduce these usually for some of my sideboard options. I have a 1 of Knights of the Round because this can get you some really nice overwhelm on your opponent, but I'm also using Overlord of the Mistmoors because as it's not a saga creature, and it's much cheaper, it's a little bit easier to get out. So I have 2 Overlord of the Mistmoors and 1 Knights of the Round. We do have 2 Primal Odins. This is actually a really big factor in winning with this deck. I don't rely on it as like my only win condition, obviously, but you can very easily win with Primal Odin. This is another piece of removal in the deck, and at a 6 cost, it's pretty easy to get out when we're ramping with Overlord of the Hauntwoods and Summon Fenrir. Personally, in this deck, I'll be honest, I kind of like Fenrir better because it gets you a body out on turn 3 to block with if you need to. However, Overlord also activates your Leyline Binding for 1 mana, because otherwise the best you can hope for is 3 mana with the land that we have in this deck, because I only have plains, swamps, and forest. Even when you come into the Scry lands, Shadowy Backstreet is a plain swamp, Underground Mortuary is a swamp forest, and Lush Portico which I missed, but here it is a Forest Plains. So those are your scry lands. We have basics in here. I do have a decent amount of basics, and the reason for that is because I'm running 4 Fenrir and 3 Fabled Passage, so I want to hit these basics pretty often. I have a lot of ways to fetch them, so I want to make sure I have at least a decent amount of them to hit with those fetch options. And it is entirely possible that if you ramp really hard, getting like these Fenrirs back with Yuna and stuff like that, that you could run out of basics to get in the deck, which is fine. It stops being relevant once you have them all out, but you do want to make sure you have enough of them to fetch so that things like your Fabled Passage and stuff aren't completely dead. We do also have 1 Summon Titan. I like it because it does feed your graveyard, so I do enjoy it in combination with the Overlord of the Baelmark and the Esper Origins to kind of fill our graveyard a little bit easier. However, I don't want to completely mill myself out or lose a bunch of lands if people do kill the Titan, so I'm only running it as a 1 of. I'm running the Overlord of the Baelmark as a 3 of. You could do this as a 4 of and not do the Titan, because Titan, you know, is a 5-drop consistently where Baelmark can be cast for 2 with Impend. You know, do that to your preference. This is just mine and what I've been enjoying. Like I said, 3 Leyline Binding, could easily do 4 if you feel like you need more removal. I personally am doing 3 with 2 Ride's End, because sometimes getting that Ride's End out early helps. Like I said, I've been using this deck primarily for my best of 3 and ranked, so this combination has been working well with me with this sideboard. The High Noon I don't use often, so you could probably remove this for something else if you really wanted to. I think Strategic Betrayal is the sacrifice a creature and then exile it and all of your the person's graveyard. I would consider switching it out for that. I do use the Authority of the Councils, less so now, but obviously up against your red matchups, your aggressive matchups, it's fantastic. I did play against Lizards on ladder, Rakdos Lizards, that was running the Urbrask Forge, and this came in handy significantly. We also do have Enchantment and Graveyard Hate between Terra Sunder, Tranquil Frillback, and Ghost Vacuum. So obviously Graveyard Hate would be Tranquil Frillback and Ghost Vacuum. Enchantment Hate would be Terra Sunder, Tranquil Frillback. We do have Duress for your control matchups. We've got Maelstrom Pulse. And most of our removal is nice. So when you look at it, we've got Leyline Binding. This can hit anything, not just creatures. Primal Odin can only hit creatures, so it is a bit more restrictive, and it is a 6-mana option, but you can get it potentially for less if you get Yuna out. Playing Yuna is really, really easy also. The only real stipulation for her that I would say to watch out for is try to make sure your opponent doesn't have 4 mana open on the turn that you want to play her with black available. Because if they can play a, like, Go for the Throat for 4, then she's just gone and you don't get the value at the end step. Rides In only hits creatures, but Bahamut also hits any permanent twice, because it does it for 2 chapters, which is really fantastic. And Bahamut lasts for 4 chapters, so it's a really good card too, which is why I do have it as one of my 2-ofs, despite how expensive it is. And you can get it in this deck with Yuna or with the Virtue of Persistence. You can also really easily get the enchantment part of Virtue of Persistence because of Yuna. If it's in the graveyard, it can be a pretty high priority target, unless you believe your opponent to have some kind of enchantment removal. But anyway, that's more or less the deck. I don't want to get too crazy into it. I've already been talking for a while. Lands pretty basic. Like I said, we do have a lot of the scry lands. We have a lot of the lands that enter and are usable for multiple colors based on those scry lands. Like, you could get 1 Lush Portico out, and that automatically brings online all of your Hushwood Verge, all of your Wastewood Verge, so that's why we have those. I do have a few Razorgrain Thickets in here. It's really important to notice that they are not the Lushwood Verge, because it is easy to put them out later unintentionally and get them to enter tapped accidentally that way, which is kind of why I'm going Fabled Passage. And Fabled Passage can hurt you, obviously prior to round or turn 4 as well, so there's also the issue there. I still felt like this was better because it does play into these verges better. rather than and into the Fenrir better, because you could run this as like the starting town, you know, and then have it potentially be active faster. However, if you're doing that, you're not really monopolizing on these options but you know, you could do preference there. I could see starting town instead of this if you really wanted to go faster. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get into games. I am gonna be playing best of 1, going for 3 wins like I normally do, but this is my best of 3 ranked deck that I've been playing since the bans went up, and I absolutely love it. Alright, our opponent goes first, which is pretty disappointing. None of our stuff here is really fantastic for the early game, so if they're really aggressive, this could be a rough one, but I'm going to go ahead and keep it and see if we can't surveil our way into some nice early options. Esper Origins was a fantastic draw. I'm super happy about that. I'm going to start with the backstreet personally, and I'm going to keep the Overlord because that's one of those early options we're really looking for. Opponent looks to be playing Orzhov here. Could be life gain, could be Re-animator. Okay, looks like this is going to be a new Pixie deck. I have seen people trying to play Tiny Bones Joins Up in Pixie as a replacement for Hopeless Nightmare, and that's exactly what it is. Let me just tell you, this is not as good. It isn't. You don't take damage from your opponent bouncing the Tiny Bones Joins Up, and the Pixie isn't a legendary, so it's just not as good. It's really not. But we'll go ahead, continue playing out. I think I am super happy to go here. We're going to drop the Mortuary next and get the Overlord going, and when we have to discard, we're just going to discard Odin. Yeah, so we're looking really totally fine here. We're going to go... Ooh, so we could ramp here. Ramping is super tempting. But I think what I want to do is to go here. Let's go ahead and get the Virtue. Let's get the Virtue in hand. Why not? And then we'll do... Okay, well, it's going to get milled anyway. I don't know why I care. It doesn't matter. We're getting Yuna back to our hand with the Overlord. Now we've got lots of options to grab with her, so it is looking fantastic. Probably going to discard here the Leyline Binding, because I just don't need it. See what we draw here. If we get... I don't know, it's really tempting to go for the Overlord, because it could ramp us into what we need, and I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. Here we go. So let's go tap land into Overlord, and this is pretty fantastic. I'm okay with keeping that this time because we may want the removal. And now we've got 5 lands, so we can play out Yuna on the next turn if we want, and that'll be totally fine. We even are getting closer to our Bailmark being open, so that's totally good. We can drop this land, don't have to feel bad about it at all. If we do have to drop both, it'll be a little disappointing, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, so we are going to have to drop Yuna. That's totally fine, though. I don't even think I'm going to... I don't know. I will go with the removal here, purely because the Esper Origins isn't in my hand, so I don't have to worry about losing it. We're going to get a little bit of life gain there, and then next we've got Origins. If we can get Bailmark untapped as a creature, then we can get Yuna back easily, too. And if we keep getting land, then the Virtue is a perfectly good option for getting things from the graveyard. And now our opponent's trying to draw cards because they are super stalled out on land. Hurting themselves is fantastic for us. I'm going to go the same way here. We're just going to go for another 2 here. Gain a little bit more life back. Our opponent is nowhere near having a demon. And we can just keep healing until we get an option that we want to go with here. I wouldn't be surprised if, yeah, they go for Bandit's Talent so that they can start doing a little bit of damage to us now. That puts them under 10. Okay, we got a land here. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the top, see what we've got. Not looking for a Fenrir right now. Let's go for Esper Origins so that we can get a little bit more life back. Totally happy with the Yuna on top as our draw. So let's get that and just get the land out of here. Now we're going to go ahead and draw Yuna. Hopefully they don't make us discard it, but they could. Got plenty of things on board now, though, if we do have to lose any creatures. And as long as we don't lose our Balemark, we could potentially even get... Okay, yeah, that didn't matter at all. As long as we don't lose our Balemark, we could just get Yuna back, even if we have to discard it. And we don't need the Hauntwood, so we can easily sacrifice it. Okay, so they're going to make us discard Yuna. No issues there. Yep, Bandit's Talent. We discard Yuna. We're going to be getting that back, though. Strategic Betrayal, so we're not going to be getting it back. That's too bad. Okay, well, we won here. And so what I was thinking is with a Strategic Betrayal, we could either get rid of the Hauntwood or Balemark. Probably, though, get rid of the Hauntwood, get the 2 mana off of our Esper Origin, and get down Virtue. Our graveyard's going to be gone, but we're going to be able to cannibalize their graveyard as well as generate more with the Balemark. So I wasn't really concerned about it. So even though our opponent had some graveyard hate, had some discard to really slow us down, we were able to gain way more life than was even necessary because we had Virtue of Persistence, we had Esper Origins, so we were gaining and gaining and gaining life. And now that Pixies doesn't have Hopeless Nightmare, we're not taking ridiculous damage every time they force us to discard a card. This thing is not a good replacement for Hopeless Nightmare. It is a viable replacement, but now things... this deck is too slow now. In my opinion, it is too slow now damage-wise, because you're not dealing constant damage with creatures, and Hopeless Nightmare isn't sitting there giving them freebie wins by giving 2 pings of damage every time they replay it. So, anyway, just my opinion. Easy first game. Showed a great option of how this deck just takes control so easily. We'll go ahead, though. We'll see if we can get a good game, too. Alright, opponent gets to go first again, which is very disappointing. We can go ahead and go Fabled Passage for a Forest turn 1, though, so I think that's viable. If we don't draw a better land. Got my Jace Clothed Chocobo. Not too far off from the Chandra. Okay, let's go get our Forest. We've got Esper Origins and Virtue of Persistence available on turn 2. No additional creatures on board means that I feel pretty good about Virtue while there's nothing to get value off of spreading counters. He'll draw a card, but I still think Virtue is probably the right play here. Just get rid of this, let him draw a card, get the creature off board. We do need some more land to start popping up, but we've got good removal with 3 Virtues in hand. Probably going to go Esper Origins next. Well, now we got to make sure Alesha stays gone too, but we do have land now. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go Virtue, get rid of Alesha, and then now we can finally use Esper Origins. And what do we even want here? I think I'm going to go like that. Yeah, I'm pretty okay with that, actually. And that's totally fine. What we're going to do, they could... I don't know if they'll take the Esper. That's what I would do, probably. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to just double spell. We're going to go Overlord into Esper, making sure to do Esper second so that we can Surveil. But let's go ahead, Overlord first. Make sure we get our graveyard sorted. We're going to get our Yuna into hand. Yep, get Yuna. Now we're going to do Esper Origins, gain a little bit of life, and try to set up an untapped land, maybe? We don't want Titan. I think I am at least okay with the Overlord. It's going to give us the land that we need, because we do need white for Yuna anyway. Do have life gain for seemingly forever at this point. So now we've got the land next turn to go with Yuna if we want. Getting closer to our Overlords flipping. Okay, a shock from them when I'm on 27 life looks pretty pointless. Here comes another one. I'm still, even after attacks, not going to be below 20. Got another shock, maybe? No? Okay. Let's go ahead, play land, get Yuna going now. I don't think they're going to have any possibility of doing anything to Yuna this turn, because they don't have the mana for a Go for the Throat. Yeah. So this opponent was way, way too slow. For me to be able to do all of these things and stall the match this much to get the mana I needed, like, they really needed to be more aggressive to do anything to us there. I'm not entirely sure what they're doing. It looks like they were trying to go with like a Jund counters deck. It certainly isn't the way I would have gone about it. I don't think these are bad. I think Alesha's really good too. I don't think Jund's the right shell for that, though, if I'm being totally honest. Anyway, let's go ahead and see if we can get a good game 3. Alright, opponent goes first, but of course that's just how it always is for me. I'll go ahead and keep. We've got some early plays here that I don't mind. Looks like this is going to be a fairly aggressive deck. I'm actually going to start turn 1 here, probably with getting a Plains. Looks like this could be mono red. Hard to say, honestly. Go ahead and go here. I think getting rid of this first is probably viable. All of them are kind of annoying options anyway, so. Another 1-1, or 1-2, I should say. No real issues yet, though. Gotta make sure that we get a forest out so that we can do Esper here. I do think I want Fenrir. Our opponent left. I'll probably include this match, but this wasn't a good enough match. I'm going to go ahead for a 4th win on this one. I was going to keep Fenrir and probably toss the Overlord of the Hauntwoods. We wanted to get Fenrir down next, so I was probably going to go Underground Mortuary into Fenrir. Also could have gone for Esper again if we wanted to gain more life, but I think getting out the 3-2 was going to be better because it was going to ramp us, and then we could start throwing these out as 5 drops or even this potentially. But yeah, let's go ahead and see if we can't get a little bit better game 4. Alright, our land actually looks pretty good, and we've got early plays here. Actually, pretty good lineup, so I'll keep. Opponent goes first, of course, because that's just my luck. Turn 1. I think we gotta ditch one of these porticos. They could play out something here that we need to deal with. It's not a creature. It is problematic, but I think we need to go portico here. Hauntwood. Do I want that? That's fine. Let's draw it. It's not. I wish it was an enchantment so that we could go ahead and dump it in the graveyard, but it's fine. We're gonna go Thicket next for sure because this needs to come out before turn 4. Let's go ahead and play Fenrir now. Obviously, we don't care if this ends up in the graveyard. That's totally fine. We could go straight for Yuna next if we want to. Let's get a swamp so we get double black. Raucous Theater from our opponent. Okay, let's go with Hushwood here. I do want to ramp more, so let's go ahead and get Fenrir. I think I would like another Plains here just cuz. Now let's get Esper Origins and try to get some enchantments in our graveyard. That didn't work, but we can at least get some stuff off of our top deck here that we don't want. So now would not be a good time to play Yuna. They did get rid of our Esper as well, which is unfortunate. But we have two more, so I don't really mind. We could go ahead and play Yuna here to get the pump, but I don't think it's worth it because they have 4 mana up anyway. Let's go ahead and just toss all this. Still have 4 mana open, so let's go for the body half of Esper again. I'm actually a big fan of getting that stuff in the graveyard, so next we can go Yuna without too much worry. I guess he's going to be hoping that he has another Pit of Offerings to play. Rakdos joins up, but there's no legendary creatures in the graveyard, so I don't really care. We'll see if he gets a legendary creature. He got a kill spell, which is fine. That doesn't bother us. We're going to go for Odin next. Well, we're going to go for Yuna and use Odin to blow up the Carnosaur. That is annoying to see. Well, let's go ahead. Just as I said, go Yuna here. They don't have mana open to deal with her. We'll get Odin to deal with the Carnosaur. And now they need to deal with Odin. Because if I get to attack in with Odin and they can't block, then I just win. Okay, Rakdos joins up, probably going again for the Trumpet. Yep. So he does have a blocker now if I can't get anything to get it out of my way. He didn't hit what he wanted, so he went ahead and scooped. I think this combined with the last match is fine, because we could Leyline here. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick wrap-up here, which I don't normally do back on the deck screen, but I really enjoy this one. I advocate for using it. It's a very overwhelming deck for your opponent. Those last 2 matches were a bit lackluster, because I definitely feel like there was some more fight potential. There was not a good reason for our last opponent to give up. Their Trumpeting Carnosaur was going to be a big threat for me to have a hard time getting through. Of course, just drawing the right thing, like if I had drawn a Leyline or something, I could have just gotten it out of my way, or if I had waited till end of, end step, then Yuna could have gotten the Leyline, so I definitely still had options, but this deck has so many answers, so many good options. Re-animator's a big deal right now, so I definitely advocate for running a lot of Graveyard Hate, even in your main board. I think Lord Skitter is one of my favorite cards right now, because it is such an annoying thing for your opponent to deal with. But I'll go ahead and wrap up here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. This deck's a lot of fun. I recommend trying it out. It's, like I said, it's my mainstay for ranked right now since the bans just hit. And I've been doing it pretty good with it. I know there's also some other form of Yuna decks, but this is mine, the one I've been enjoying. So hopefully you guys liked it and check it out.